Good morning. Welcome to another Simple Truth. We've been studying out of the book of 2 Kings chapter 5, the story of Naaman. And I've been going through verse by verse and kind of making it apply to everyday life. A story about a man who was a commander of an enemy army of Israel, who also had leprosy that God chose to use, and the people that he chose to influence this man, who then influenced what we're talking about today. So I want to pick it up on, again, verse 9, where it says that, so Naaman came with his horses and chariots, and he stood at the door of Elisha's house. I want you to think about how God says people should come to him. And God says that we're to come to him in a state of humbleness, in a state of humility. Now, that doesn't mean that we sell everything that we have and that we, put on ash on our heads and that we put on sackcloth and all of the things that tended to happen in the Old Testament. It's more of how we present ourselves to God. And I want to look at this, and I want you to see that Naaman came before God with chariots and horses, right? And men surrounding him. Not in a show of humility, but in a show of really force. In a show of, look at what's around me, look at who is around me, look at what I've done, look at what I've accomplished, and eventually getting to the point of, look at who I am. And so Naaman comes to God not as God has asked us to come. You and I have that same opportunity. And God says that the humble, that he will lift up the humble. That those who have a humble heart, those who have a humble attitude, again, that's just simply recognizing who we are in comparison to who God is. Do you recognize who you are in comparison to who God is? Super important that as you look at the Bible, as you read the Bible, that you consistently read it with that concept in mind. That framework is important for us understanding that we have a need for Jesus. It keeps us constantly aware that without Jesus, there's a gap between us and God that can't be crossed. But occasionally, we come to God with all that we've accomplished, with all that we've done that defines who we are, and we bring that to God as if he's to be impressed by that. If somehow he looks at the show of force that we bring to him and he just has to react. He has to do something for us because of all that we've done, all that we've become on our own. The problem with this is Naaman and all that he has become, the name that he's made for himself, all that he's collected, Naaman can't get rid of this problem of leprosy. So for all that he's able to accomplish, he still is subject to leprosy. Something is still controlling him. Something still has command over him. And I find that to be the same way, not only in my own life, but in the life of those that I'm consistently talking to, that no matter how much they have life all put together, no matter what they've accomplished in life, no matter what the name that they've made for themselves is, there's usually something that they just can't master, that has a control over them, that they need help with. It's a built-in humility that God allows to happen to us so that we come to him in the right frame of mind. But you and I, we have to be willing to actually admit that we have something that is over us, willing that there's something that we can't conquer, that we have a need for God. We have a need for Jesus. It's funny because there's this kind of oxymoron here where Naaman is coming in need of God, but really doesn't want to display or show that need of God. He just simply wants God to show up and do for him what he needs, but with no sense on his part of humility, we're going to get that there's a sense of gratitude. He brought things with him to say thank you to. But is there really a sense of humility? So this morning, I want you to think of this simple truth. Do you have a sense of humility about you? Do you have a sense that no matter what you've accomplished, no matter what has been done around you, no matter what you've collected, that you still have the ability to have a perspective that allows you to understand that A, you'd be nothing and you would have nothing without God. But B, you have a genuine need for God regardless of what you've accomplished, in spite of what you've accomplished. You have a need for God. But how you present yourself to God, it matters. Are you demanding that God do things for you because of all that you've done for him? Are you demanding that God do things for you because of all you've done for other people? All that you've collected, the titles that you've amassed, the names that you've amassed, the positions that you've amassed. Does your resume come before you to God and say, God, look at who I am. You need to help me. You need to do something for me. Because God looks, and imagine if God gave you back his resume. Imagine if while you handed in your resume of all that you've accomplished, God looked at you and with a little smirk, maybe a laugh, said, would you like to see my resume, what I've accomplished? And compare those two things, and let's just see who has a need for who. Naaman comes to seek God and God's help with a sense of arrogancy. Are you seeking God today with a sense of arrogancy, or are you seeking him with a sense of humility?